Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to this WifiGear webinar with me, Chris King. I'm joined this afternoon by Phil at Alta Labs, who's just started sharing his screen. Well done, Phil. Afternoon, Phil. How are you?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm all good, thank you. All good for Monday afternoon, and all the better for seeing your presentation pop up at just the last moment. Brief introduction as to why we've invited Alta Labs and Phil along today, and then I'm going to hand over to Phil to run through a company introduction and a brief overlook at the products and everything they've got going on. WifiGear, we're looking for a channel-focused networking brand, something that wasn't already all over the big retailer websites and in all the likely places where end users and everybody out there can see pricing and pricing as a race to the bottom. We wanted something that wasn't available direct, it was only through distribution, and something where our installer customers could put their margin on and have some confidence that it wasn't going to be found cheaper on a direct website or an online reseller. So we were introduced to Alta Labs by our mutual friends at Tachyon Networks, from whom we'd had great success and had heard great things about Alta. They sent us over some demo kit to play with, and it really is mega easy to set up and install. Even I could set up a basic network from scratch, which is saying a lot because I'm the sales guy, not the tech guy. And having played with the kit and come to an agreement where we could be master distributor in the UK, we could keep lots of stock here in the UK, we can manage the channel and protect some margin for all our customers and our installers. We're now in a really good place to share the products with you. Hopefully get your hands on some NFR kits and some demo kits, have a look at the cloud controller and see what you think. So we've got a brief presentation today from Phil from Alta Labs. Feel free to put any questions in the Q&A box as we go along, and I'll chip in and ask Phil at just the right moment. It's always better if there's a bit of interaction in these things rather than just Phil and I talking for long periods. So yeah, time to hand over to you, Phil. Any questions, guys, just chip in as we go.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Chris. And yeah, just to reiterate what Chris said, definitely if you have questions, feel free. Let's do them along the way. There'll be some Q&A at the end if you have anything, but throughout, he can just interrupt me and we can address questions as they arise. Like you said, we're Alta Labs. We were founded in 2022, and we spent the first year really doing some R&D. So 2022 to 2023, we actually shipped our first APs, 2 different models in May of 2023, so just barely over 2 years now. That being said, we have a lot of experience in the networking space. Most of our team, myself included, come from companies like Ubiquiti or Cisco or Netgear. Everybody has been in the space for quite some time. We have a really good understanding of what installers are actually looking for, and we've really tried to create a brand that supports the installers 100%. So the support is there from actual real people. That's one of the big key factors for us is we have actual support staff that are not in the call center. They're actual Alta Labs employees. They're stationed either in the US or in Canada. Actually, we have one guy in Canada, and you can call us. You can ask us questions. You can set up a WhatsApp call with me if you need. You can also email us if you prefer that, or we also have chat support. So support from real people is a huge one for Alta Labs. Another one is going to be reliability always. We want to make sure that the products that we create are as reliable as possible. That once you go to a job site, you install it, you don't have to go back there. We know how much that can take a hit on margin. So we really want to make products that are super easy to use and set up. The performance is outstanding. I'll show you a couple case studies here in a bit, but the performance that people are seeing from Alta Labs as far as range and speed are truly impressive, especially at the price point. We have a lot of internal data as well as tons of guys on YouTube actually that we've given them free product, but we haven't paid them for reviews or anything like that, just given them some product to test. They've done some speed tests against some pretty well-known brands out there that are either in the same price point or even more expensive, and Alta Labs performs very favorably against those companies. We also have a ton of free training. Yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry to chip in there. We've got our first question in the chat. Is the support in US time only?
So support is mostly in US time. So I'll say that you can definitely get us in your early afternoon. So right now it's 8 o'clock. And we could easily get, I think it's 3 o'clock there in the UK. We could easily get something scheduled around like the noon or 1 o'clock time frame. I do think that you'd struggle a little bit maybe in your like early morning. like a 8, 9, 10 o'clock. But yeah, we have guys that are based in the East Coast. And then, so I think the time difference there would only be 6 hours, which isn't too bad. And then we can be pretty flexible. Like I know I'm on call sometimes at, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and so is our other support staff. So there's probably going to be, yes, a little window where we would be unreachable, but for the most part, you could either reach out to WifiGear during those times, or if you could wait a couple hours, we can definitely take care of you. Yeah,
I reiterate that.
we
I've had calls with the Alta team from sort of like 12 noon onwards on a lot of days. So there's definitely plenty of overlap for the support to be friendly.
Yeah, and just to give you some ideas too on our future plans, that's actually like one of the key things that we really want to do this year, if possible, is we want 24/7 support. But we are trying to do it in a way that we're not just outsourcing it to, a call center. We really want to make sure that they are Alta employees. So we are looking to potentially add one person who would cover Europe. Obviously, that's a very large region, so we have to make sure we do it in the right way. But yeah, we are looking to add an actual Alta Labs employee that would do support for Europe and European time zone. So yeah, it's a great question. We'll cover free training resources really quickly. We have some things that are Alta focused, as well as just general networking best practices. Not everybody that is on the same level when it comes to installing network equipment. There are guys who've been doing IT for 20 years and who they know a ton. And then there are maybe some other guys who they love sound and audio. Maybe they're like an AV focused company, and for them the networking is just kind of something that they need for that, but their real true passion is the audio. So we offer kind of different training resources that'll help both ends of the spectrum. As far as channel friendly, we, like Chris said, we really want to control the channel and make sure that there's margin in there for the resellers and distributors and the installers. We don't want to race to the bottom. We don't want to have 10 or 15 different distributors who have direct relationships who only can compete on price. We really want to make sure that there's going to be, enough margin there for everybody along the way. And the key piece there is that is that installers can actually make money installing the products and not just on the services. So you guys can actually make margin there. These are a couple of the links for some of those free resources. My favorite one is this one here, forum.alta.inc. If you go check that out, we have a stories page there, which is really cool to see where different installs are happening throughout the world. So we have installs literally on every continent except for Antarctica represented there. We have the middle of Africa, we have tons in the US, we have Europe, Asia, just all over. It's been really fun to see where Alta Labs products have gotten. And so that's a fun one to check out. And then also in the forum, you'll be able to see product requests or feature requests or kind of how people are. There's just a lot of different experiences there. And so if you have questions with troubleshooting, that's another good place to look. So it really is just a good resource for you to learn more about Alta Labs. We'll jump into the products now. And we'll do a pretty quick overview here. But this is our AP6 access point. This is our entry-level access point. This does have a Qualcomm chipset. All of our products that can have Qualcomm chipsets do. We really like Qualcomm. We think they're best in class, and we have a really good relationship with them. This product it's a fantastic AP. The first thing that people say when they pick it up is, "Wow, that's heavy." And they flip it over and they see the big metal heat sink on the back. We really put a lot of quality engineering into this to make sure that it's going to be a high performer. Everything is ours. The antenna array, the enclosure, the PCB board, everything was designed by us. So it's not just an off the shelf kind of rebranded white boxed product. And it's a very, very fast full Wi-Fi 6 AP. Our flagship AP is our AP6 Pro. This is a Wi-Fi 6 AP again with a Qualcomm chipset, but Qualcomm actually let us build a feature into it called 4K QAM. That's one of the flagship features of Wi-Fi 7. And so we're seeing up to 6.3 gigs of combined throughput on wireless to wireless connections with this device. So it's a super, super fast device. And then the range is also exceptional. In every single install that we've done where we've taken out a different brand and put in AP6 Pros, we've seen an increase in speed and in range based off heat maps. So it's been a really good product for us. And then lastly, it's IP54 rated. So if you do need to install outdoors, maybe under an awning or like under a roof or something like that, you can do so, or maybe even like a warehouse would be great in. Then we have our AP6 Pro Outdoor. This is also a Wi-Fi 6 AP. Many outdoor units on the market currently are Wi-Fi 5. So that's a big advantage of this one is it's Wi-Fi 6. This is essentially performance-wise the exact same as the AP6 Pro. It's just been put in a little bit different enclosure. We did have to change the PCB board layout a little bit. Kind of stretched it out, made it a little wider, a little taller to get around that mount that you can see there in the back right here. This is a built-in pole mount. You can mount it horizontally or vertically like in this picture, just with this mount. And then it also does come with a wall mount bracket and all equipment that you would need to get it mounted on the pole or on the wall. And then you can see you just terminate with this gland right here. This is, again, a very robust unit. We have these installed here in Utah in the desert. We have them in Dubai in the desert. We have them in Norway at like a cabin area that gets a lot of snow. We have these up in northern Scotland. Actually, there's a salmon fishing marina that we have these installed at. So they're very, very robust. Next, we'll move into the switch lineup. We have our 8-port switch. This is the first 4 ports are PoE plus with 60 watts PoE budget. Our 16-port switch. This has 1 fan, and it is actually very quiet. It's quieter than a Ubiquiti 16-port switch, for example. And this one has 120 watt PoE budget with the first 8 ports are PoE plus. And then on the right-hand side there, you can see there are 2 SFP 1 gig ports. One thing to note on those, we did put them side by side as opposed to stacked. That actually creates a little bit less heat. It's more expensive to do, which is why you typically see them stacked. But having them stacked creates more heat, need for a bigger fan, more fans. So we chose to do it that way, and these switches do run very cool. The 24-port switch also has the 2 ports on the right-hand side. Those are SFP plus ports, and those are 10 gig. And then this has a PoE budget of 240 watts with the first 16 ports being PoE plus. We have our on-premise controller. This is a good time just to chat about our controllers in general. So if you buy an access point or a switch or just buy a single Alta device, you do have access to the cloud controller for free. There's no license fee, no cost associated with that. That's a core piece of our business model is that is free for the user. You don't need to purchase an additional piece of hardware even to use it, like a cloud key, for example. If you just purchase our AP6, the cloud controller is built into that. So that's a huge advantage of going with Alta. However, we do know that there's a small group of customers that really just wants on-premise controller. And so we have 2 options there. We have one, which is this hardware piece. And so this can manage up to 1,000 Alta devices. It doesn't matter. There's no limit on sites. It just only matters how many devices you have. So if you have one site with 1,000 devices, this would only be able to be used on one site. But if you had, say, 1,000 or one device on 1,000 sites, it would control 1,000 sites. So it's totally up to you on how you deploy it. You just have 1,000 devices to work with. Or the other option is we actually offer a Docker image, and that's free. So it does require a license key. If you just email us, we'll give you one. And then you would download the Docker image, you would self-host it and use that license key. Just to kind of give some numbers on this to put it into perspective, over 99% of the activations of devices on the Alta Labs platform are done with the cloud controller. So the vast majority of our customers are using the cloud management. There really is it's a very specific customer that wants the controller, but it's an absolute requirement for them. So we want to be able to provide this product for them. I think if you're on the call and you want this, you kind of probably already know that this is what you want. But this has been one that guys have been pretty vocal asking for, so we just wanted to provide it. The next is the router. This has been a game-changing product for us, honestly, in terms of projects we could get out in front of. It also allows us now to have the full stack where we can provide routing, switching, and access points. And then this is a 10 gig router, and the MSRP on this is $199 USD. That's the MSRP. So your purchase price as an installer would be even less. And then with the very favorable exchange rate for the UK right now, I think this ends up becoming a pretty affordable router for you, a 10 gig router. The competition is typically, depending on the vendor, 2 and 3 times as expensive. and the feature set on this is really impressive. If you want to check out the features that are currently available, if you just go to our website, alta.inc, and go to the Route 10 data sheet, you'll be able to see all the features on it. But our engineering team is actively adding more features to it. So this has been a huge product for us. So we've seen a lot of success with. The next product, which WifiGear actually has on order, and this will be shipping literally this week, is some of these have already left to some distributors, is our AP6 in-wall. This is a really exciting product for us. This is our first sub 100 USD MSRP product. MSRP on this is $99. And then this has right here, you can see PoE in on the back of this unit. And there's another PoE in right here. Also, there's a PoE out. So if you need to power, like PoE pass through, if you need to power a VoIP phone or something like that, you're able to do so. So really applicable in a hotel environment, or maybe you just have a tricky back room with some weird construction, lots of rock or concrete, and you just need a smaller AP to provide connectivity in a single room. So this is a great option for that. But again, this is shipping this week. So it should be in channel. We're air shipping the first batch. Should be in channel realistically, probably about 14 days would be my guess. Next, and this is the 48 port switch. This is one that has been requested probably daily for months at this point. I receive a request from somebody somewhere in the world for a 48 port switch with all ports PoE. So we knew that we needed to get out an all ports PoE switch, and the 48 port is going to be the first one. In the future, next year, we will have 81624 with all ports PoE plus. For right now, this will be the first one that we offer. And then this is going into production at the end of this month, so it'll be shipping in July. So these will be available pretty soon. This is MSRP of $9.99 USD. So again, a really solid price point for that. This has all ports PoE plus. The first 16 of them are 2.5 gig ports. And then on the right-hand side there, you can see there are 4 10 gig SFP plus ports. And this one has a PoE budget of 740 watts. And then lastly, for the new products that are coming pretty soon, this one will go into production as soon as the 48 port switch wraps up. This will just be the next product that goes into production. This is our fiber switch. You can tell it's a little shorter, width-wise, it's not super long. You can actually put 2 of these next to each other in a 1U rack space, and then you could have 24 ports of SFP plus. So this has been another one that guys really want. I don't know that we're not going to go all the way out and call it a core switch. It's not exactly a core switch, but it'll have a lot of functionality, and each one will provide, like I said, 12 ports of SFP plus. And at the $299 price point, it's again a really aggressively priced product. The last thing we'll cover on new products is we do have a Wi-Fi 7 AP coming out this year. That's going to be Q3 to Q4. Honestly, probably just Q4. We think we could go ahead and change that Q3 to Q4. But that is coming with a 10 gig port. So that's been a big request as well. Guys wanted to see more than just a 1 gig port, whether it's 2.5 or 5. We're just going to jump all the way up to 10. And so it's going to have a 10 gig port, which I think people are really going to like. Any questions on the actual hardware?
If we've got one in the chat, yeah. Mark's asked, is content filtering now available on the Route 10?
I believe content filtering is available now. I have to make sure that it's actually been pushed public, but I know that they're wrapping up the beta on that last week. So I'm pretty sure that that's available now. If not, it will be in the next couple of days.
Perfect.
Yeah, good question.
We also got asked in the chat, is the outdoor AP suitable for marine environments?
It is, yeah. Like I said, we have some installed in marinas right now. We have some installed on yachts, actually. So yeah, one thing that we can do and can look at, we've actually worked with a company in Las Vegas who does a lot with boats. Like they have a special nano coating that they use to spray on speakers and any actually PCB boards and kind of all the components. And we've coated some AP6 Pros in those as well. If you feel like it needs a little bit extra. But we do have AP6 Pros that are currently in use. It's IP68 rated, so very, very robust rating. I think you should be fine.
Yeah, IP68 is good. If you compare to some of the competition, IP68 is really, really good.
One quick note, since you're going to bring up competition, Chris, I'll throw this out there. There are quite a few manufacturers who look up what the IP ratings are, and then they do the testing internally themselves, and then they say it passes IP67 or what IP66 testing protocol. They don't actually say it's like IP66 rated, so that's something you have to look out for. With us, we actually got the IP68 rating. We sent off our products to a certified lab. They tested them, third party. So all of our certifications are not done by us. They're not just tested against the protocol, they're actually certified. So that is unfortunately something that some vendors do to be a little bit tricky. So just keep an eye out for that. We'll talk about the NFR kits really quickly. This is something that WifiGear has. This is one AP6, one AP6 Pro, one 8-port switch, and one Route 10. And that basically gives you the ability to test everything you'd want to, right? It's not all the switches, but you get to test switch functionality still, see how things work in the controller, test the router, and then it allows you to see the performance difference between the AP6 and AP6 Pro to see what your clients might need or in certain situations. And that comes in at a very heavily discounted price. That is only for installers. Regular end users can't purchase that. And there is a limit of one just because of the cost, but WifiGear is able to supply that for you so that you can do some testing on the product. So if you do have
I've just put a link in the chat for that, Phil.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do have interest in that, either reach out to me, to them with any questions that you have. But I think that's a fantastic place to start. For guys who actually purchase NFR kits, we see a huge percentage of them come back and start using Alta in projects. The number one piece of feedback that we get from guys all over the world is it just works. And so once they try it, once they set it up, they have a good experience with it. So I would definitely encourage you to take a look at that NFR kit. Next, we will touch on 2 case studies, and then we'll go into the actual cloud controller itself. This one is the University of Notre Dame in the US here. There's a student housing unit. You can see it's a couple floors. There are 68 total units in this one. And previously they had 1 AP per unit, and then there were an additional 4 APs, and like there was a gym, kitchen area, just kind of spread throughout, and each one had its own SSID. What we were able to do is we were able to take all those units out, replace them with Alta Labs APs, and then we provided a single SSID for the entire structure. So based on each unit was given its own password, and then based on that password, they were also able to have different permission sets. So this allowed that MDU to actually sell different levels or different packages of internet speeds. They were able to rate limit some apartments, whereas maybe somebody liked to game, so they purchased a higher package or more bandwidth. And that's all done based on password. The other nice thing is it allows somebody who, if they have a friend who lives a floor or 2 above them, they can just walk up there. They don't have to get on their SSID. They don't have to find their password. They can just roam throughout the entire building, and they're all on the same network. So this has been a really cool thing that people really like about Alta as well, is just how easy Alta Pass is. And then the last one we'll share.
Sorry to interrupt there, Phil. There's a couple of people I know on the call that use quite a lot of dynamic pre-shared keys and other features with vendors, probably considerably more expensive, 2 or 3 times as expensive as Alta with us at the moment, that I'll be reaching out to, because that Alta Pass feature will be absolutely fantastic for them.
Yeah, and once we actually get into the controller, for those folks that Chris is referencing, I will show you the difference between PPSK and Alta Pass. Alta Pass is actually patented, so we are the only vendor that will be able to have that. It is kind of the evolution, the next step, you could say, of PPSK. But yeah, it's a really powerful feature, so I'm excited to share that with you. If you have any questions during that time, I'm honestly, Chris, if you even want to unmute, I'm okay with that too. So just throw questions either out. You can unmute yourself or just put them in the chat. Last case study, really quickly. This was built when we did the 2006 or 2008 Winter Olympics in Utah. It was a training facility for the athletes. Since then, it's turned into more of like a family center. But they had on the left side, you can see the before, that was 21 APs of a competitor. We ripped those out. We replaced them with 21 of our APs. and you can see the increase in coverage there, and there's also an increase in speed. So again, this is a very, very typical thing to see when we do rip and replace jobs. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to pull up the controller now and then reshare my screen, but now would be a great time for questions if there are any.
There was one in the chat that I was just answering there. Looking at smaller networks, do any products have a router and Wi-Fi built in? I'm thinking of a replacement for a Draytech router, or is it just a Route 10 and an AP?
That's a great question. Yeah, it is currently, you would need to buy the Route 10 and an AP. Nice thing there is Route 10 does have 2 PoE Plus ports. So you can, rather than having to buy a switch as well, you can just hook in 1 or 2 APs directly into the Route 10, and they'll be able to be powered. So that does help to keep costs down. Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, even when you look at the cost of that versus some of the other combo, like, do it all type devices, a Route 10 at 199 USD plus an AP6 at 109 USD, that's still just around $300. You're still coming in at half the price of a lot of the competition. So yeah, it's a good question. Is everyone, Chris, are you able to see the login screen?
We certainly are, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. This is a big question we get, is when is the team single sign-on coming? That is coming soon, we hope. Teams is a little bit more challenging to work with on that front than Google and Apple, but that is something that we want to push out this year. You can either log in with your email and password, or I'll just go ahead and I will sign in with my work account. And what you're seeing right now is our office, actually. So it's 8:28 in the morning now. So you're going to get to see some actual real-time traffic too, which is cool. Most people get in around 8 o'clock. Some get in around 9. So you're going to be able to see people actually using the network. This is the dashboard that you'll see. This lets us know whether the device is out of date and needs to be updated. This right here is a really important piece of the puzzle. This is our network activity, and this is actually real time. So a lot of vendors will say real time, but there maybe is a 2 or 3 minute delay. Ours is actually real time, which allows a network admin to maybe plug in or unplug a device and see what's happening immediately. That can save you a ton of time for troubleshooting, just makes things a lot easier. And then you could also go back and see the past hour, 2 days, or 2 months. And we also give options for both wireless and wired traffic there. Scrolling down, you can see top active devices, top active applications, top active network devices. And then if you kind of click into it, you can get a little bit more data. So this just allows you to see exactly what's happening. We'll click into the network really quickly. And this is where we can see all of the actual Alta devices that are on the network. Over here, you can see these icons. And if you click them, you actually can pull up cards, which we'll do here in a second. But if you mouse over it, it'll tell you what the actual SKU is. So if you have a question on which switch it is, maybe you can see 16 port, 24 port. This right here lets us know that this is meshed. This unit is meshed. This is the load. We wanted to really make sure that because the cloud controller is built into the APs, there's a little bit more computing happening there than on other APs. We wanted to give you the ability to see the load on the CPU. So you'll see that these are either white, yellow, orange, or red. And then they'll kind of blink through those colors depending on the load. Same thing with the 2 gig and the 5 gig channel. So if maybe you had this one, it just just beeped like a orangish or red. If this stays red, it kind of is a good indicator that maybe you might want to make some changes on that channel. Over here, this is where you would click the up button to update the firmware. We do give you the option to have automatic device updates. We know a lot of guys don't like that, so you have the ability to do either. Colors, this is a new concept, another one that we've actually patented, and this is where you assign an SSID a color. So for example, red is our peak alarm. You can see right there, peak alarm. This one only needs to be broadcast from specific APs. So as the network admin, you can come in and just visually, without clicking in anywhere, you can see that this SSID is being broadcast from the correct APs. Over here, this is the status. You can mouse over this and get some more data. And then this is a locate. This will actually flash the LED on the EP. And then delete is essentially a factory reset. Like if you wanted to move it from one job site to another, you could just do that. Let's pull up 2 APs. We'll pull up these 2. on this one and this one. One nice thing about how we do scans is I'll do a full scan right here and I'll do a quick scan right here. Again, this is during the workday. You can see it's not going to pull down the network at all. There's no interruption. As a network admin, again, that's huge that you can be able to do a scan during a workday or during, maybe a video call and not interrupt anybody. We list out the average RF utilization, total number of interferes, and then right here is the top 10. And then if you come down here, you can actually get a little bit more information. And then based on this, you can maybe go back here and make a change to the specific channel. Another thing is you can see the traffic and you can get your DPI stats right here. Something to note on the DPI stats, you don't actually need an Alta switch or an Alta router to be able to get those DPI stats. They're all built, the DPI engine's built into the APs. So that's another place where you can save some money and is a good differentiator for Alta Labs is DPI engine built into the AP, and that's huge for a lot of guys. You can also see all the connected devices to the specific AP. Come into settings. One cool thing about this is, let's say you mistype your IP address and you have fallback upon failure turned on. What this will do is it'll actually allow the AP to fall back to its last known working condition, and that will save you a trip out to the job site. So that's been a really cool one. There was actually a customer in India who said that they needed to send an engineer 2 hours on a train one way and 2 hours back for him just to do a physical reset of an AP, which obviously is killer for your margin and for being able to do other projects. So having something like this that can just revert that AP back without needing to do a full factory reset is huge. Always on, that allows the SSID to be broadcast even if the internet connection is cut. This can be advantageous for maybe a network admin who wants to do some troubleshooting. And then this is also selectable per AP. So you don't have to have all of the AP sets always on. Maybe you just want the one that's closest to his office. This is where you toggle mesh. You can change the LED color, monitor the temperature of the device, or you can move to a specific site if you'd like. So if you are the type of person who likes to get the APs all set up and ready and staged before you get to the job site, you could stage these all at your office. And then once you get to that site and get them hooked up, you can just simply move the AP from your home base to the site that you're at. So gives you a lot of flexibility there. We will close these and then hop into a switch really quickly. This little green one helps you go more full screen for the 1624 port switches. That helps quite a bit. You can see all the different ports here. This one has this AP connected to it. You can see if you wanted to, you can power cycle ports just by hovering over it, which you could use that to reset the AP. You can click into a port. You can name the port. And then we have a lot of different options for what you can do for the switch. So really anything that you need to do, these are layer 2 switches, but they do have some layer 3 functionality. You can stack them. They have IGMP snooping. Our switches are Dante certified. We're AV Pro Edge certified. We're finalizing the certification for Bluestream. So they're definitely some solid switches. We'll go into devices. These are just simply all the devices that are connected to the network, pretty straightforward, or have been. We have topology right here. This is our map. You can click and drag through it, or you can use the view down here in the bottom right and kind of pull it all the way up. We also have a heat map tool that's coming. That will probably be a month to 2 months out, but that'll just be right up here as well, and that'll be built in for free. I do want to touch on the multi-site management over here. So you can see right now we have home base, which is the default. Then we have our Sound Vision Technologies headquarters. That's the second site. The site manager will list out all of the sites right here, and then you can search through them and you can add a new site. If you use the drop down, if you have more than 10 sites, a search bar will appear and you can search for them. From here, though, you can also add a new site, leave a site, or rename a site.
How many sites can you have, Phil?
It's currently unlimited. Yeah, you can have as many as you want. We have guys that have hundreds of sites already. This was definitely built with the purpose of being able to manage many sites. We'll click into networks currently. This is where you can sort through VLANs and your WANs. Right here is your firewall settings. You can import and export rules too, which makes it really easy. Port forwarding, that, also intrusion prevention right here. IDS and IPS on the Route 10 is a big one that guys want. Filter, this is filtering specific applications. Red is a single one, blue is like a family of things. So adult content was a big, huge request. So we built that in. So you can just click one of these and it'll block that entire application or that family. And then you can enter specific domains as well. For users, right here, you can click and allow different permission sets. One cool thing that you can do is invite a specific user, or if you want, you can invite a group. So if you want to maybe put all your staff to a group, invite them to every site, and then maybe add an employee that decides to move on. You could just delete them from that group, and it will go through all of the sites that group is attached to and remove that name. So you don't have to go through manually and delete one at a time, which is really nice. System, these are just some more settings. AP LED color, switch color. This is where you do automatic device updates. Time zone, which would be important for the Wi-Fi scheduler. And then SSH keys, if you're using an SSH key, this is where you would add that. And then we have some SNMP features as well as a couple other advanced features down here. If you come into the Wi-Fi, this is where I'll click into an actual SSID. This is Sound Vision. And this is one of the reasons why Alta is just so easy to use. We have a video on our website, or on YouTube, where our CEO goes from taking APs from a couple different vendors out of the box on a desk and then installs them, and then gets an SSID set up. And Alta is about 3 minutes. It's very, very quick. The next closest one is, I think, over twice as long. There is one that's like 15 or 16 minutes. So when using Alta, it's just a really, really quick, simple process. You choose the SSID name that you want. We have these pre-configured network types, which really helps to speed things up. We have a standard network. This is fewer than 100 devices, so this is going to be most homes or small businesses. Large, which would be hundreds or thousands of devices. IoT only, internet only, and then guest, which is a combo of internet and IoT. So basically what you would do is there would only be one of these when you're setting it up, but you would click and choose which network type you would like, and put in the password. And one nice thing here, I'll add another one just so we can play with it, is you can see this right here, the 10 or the 20, that's the VLAN. So you can actually, based on password, you can assign a VLAN just like PPSK. But where we differ from PPSK is you can actually rate limit based on password as well. So in that MDU project that I talked about at Notre Dame, based on the password of the individual apartment, they can rate limit them. You can set a max devices. You can bypass a Wi-Fi hotspot. You can bypass the scheduler. You can bypass the content filter, or you can lock the AP. That's all done based on password. So, for example, we have a lot of AV guys that we work with who do installs where they have a standard network for the parents, they have another standard network for the kids, and they have another one that's a guest network for guests. So they can have nice, strong passwords for mom and dad and the kids, and then the guests can have, an easier one that has limited access to the network. For the parents, they're able to make it so that one, they don't have a hotspot because it's a house, but they can ignore the Wi-Fi scheduler, and maybe they want to bypass the content filter on their devices as well. Something that we've heard of even is they'll have like a different password for still standard networks, but one that's for older kids and one that's even for younger kids. And so that they can even have different permission sets based on that, like teenagers and maybe and 7 or 8 year old. So there's a lot of things you can do in a work setting or work environment. We had a request actually from one of our distributors, not WifiGear, but another one, who said that their sales team was spending a lot of time on YouTube, but they couldn't block it because their marketing team needed access to YouTube. So they were actually able to set it up so that with the different permission sets, the sales team no longer was able to watch YouTube, and the marketing team was able to still use it for their job. So there's a lot of different things you can do on that per password basis. We had a cool festival in Norway where they set up one single SSID for the whole festival, but the guests, they were rate limited, whereas the bands and the people that were the food vendors and things like that were using Wi-Fi for their credit card processing, they were able to still have full bandwidth. So just things like that make it super simple. There's not multiple SSIDs. You're not having to clarify things. You can just set one SSID for everybody, and then use different passwords. So it's really, really, really simple. If you do need to use a Radius server, this is where you do that. We do not host the Radius server, but we do give you the option to use it if you need, and then you can also do an open network. Down here in the advanced settings, this is where we do offer fast roaming, and that's toggled on by default. This is where you do the Wi-Fi scheduler. Let's say we want to turn off at like 9 p.m. One thing that we do differently, and again, this is actually patented by Alta, is the way that most Wi-Fi schedulers work is they shut off that SSID when at whatever time the Wi-Fi is supposed to turn off at. The problem with that is if you have other devices connected to it, maybe an alarm system, maybe other smart home devices that you want to still be able to use, it'll actually shut those off too. So with Alta, those will continue to work because the SSID is still being broadcast. Just that device is being locked out from the internet. And then we also allow right here, users can request access during downtime. And so maybe you have an employee who's working later, or maybe in a home setting, there's a kid who's working on a school project, they need a little bit more time. They can just send a request to either the boss or the parent, and they can approve that request. So just another nice little way to make things simple to use rather than having to go and switch them onto a different network or change their password, things like that. We also offer hotspot. Let's turn this off real quick. You can use an external hotspot if you need. This is where you do that, like for hotel and then we offer a regular local hotspot. Maybe if it's a cafe, you can put their logo in. Welcome to our cafe. We have terms of service that you can automatically populate. You can use a password, and then the final landing page, maybe for that cafe, it's like their menu or their homepage. So a lot of different things you can do there. It's really, really simple to use, really straightforward. And yeah, that's kind of a brief overview without doing too much of a deep dive. Does anybody have any specific questions on the controller?
If you do, pop it in the chat now. There's a whole ton of functionality there, Phil, isn't there, in the controller? But yeah, it's really still quite simple to use and user-friendly.
Yeah, that's we really want to make sure it's simple for guys to use, that there's no they don't need a college degree or a Cisco multi-year Cisco certification to be able to use it.
And as it stands, the controller is totally free. Don't matter how many devices, no matter how many sites, the cloud controller is free to use, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, built into the APs. No need for additional hardware. No need for license keys or anything like that. Just purchase an AP and you have access to it for free.
Wait, running. Right, we've got what's the minimum hardware requirements for a local controller?
For a local controller, I mean, you would need just, I guess minimum requirement would be an AP or a switch. So you have one device, and then the local controller itself. So really, it's just a single device. You could use the local controller.
Cool. And is the functionality dependent on the controller, or is it on the APs?
That's a good question. The functionality is dependent on the APs. The development for the controller, we do push features out to that after features have been pushed out to the cloud. So there may be a little bit of a period where kind of the in between where we're finalizing it for the local management where it's not available, but it will be available in short order. It typically goes, the online controller. We're always done with iOS a little bit faster than Android as well for the app, and then local controller after that.
Perfect. So following up from that, if the controller is offline, will it all still work?
If the controller is offline, I mean, not on the local network, you could definitely work on the cloud controller, but if the local controller is offline, then no, it wouldn't work.
Okay. Tommy, you mean in the cloud controller there or a local controller? Do you watch, like unmute Tom and let him?
Sorry, yeah, maybe just a little confused.
Yeah, right. It was just more to do with the cloud controller, all of these nice functions on the APs. If the cloud controller is offline for some reason, unreachable or down, do these functions like the multiple passwords, the rate limiting, all of those functions still work on the local APs, or do they rely on the controller for that to work?
Sorry, I got you. Yeah. So yeah, if you do have both, then yes, it would still work. So we do have some guys that kind of use the cloud as a primary, and they have the local controller as a backup. So yes, that would continue to work. Just to give you a little bit, maybe a little bit more confidence in the controller, this isn't something that we've just built and hosted ourselves. It is Amazon's AWS, so it's very robust. They have a long history of being online and working and functioning properly. But yeah, if you did want to kind of do both as a fail-safe method, if the cloud controller did for some reason go down and you had the local controller set up, it would continue to function. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah. And then if there's no controller, so no local controller and the cloud controller is offline, what still works? Basic access or nothing?
I mean, no, I think that you wouldn't be able to get on even just because the cloud controller would be down. We've fortunately not run into that scenario. But yeah, if you did need a backup for depending on the project, yeah, a local controller might be a good backup.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else got any controller based or any questions at all?
Hi Phil, it's Ricky.
Hey Ricky.
I've just been asked today if there might be a potential 4-port switch with SFPs, PoE. Anything like that on the horizon?
4-port, no, nothing in the immediate future.
It's quite specific, right?
We've looked. No, yeah, no worries. We have looked at maybe a 5-port switch, which I think would kind of fill that question as well. That's something that we may do in 2025, but it wouldn't be a 4-port. It would potentially like a small little 5-port switch.
They need two SFPs for it as well, so that's quite a hefty requirement for a 4-port,
right? Yeah, probably not, honestly.
Okay, no worries.
Another question from the chat. What's the support life cycle of devices, e.g. firmware updates, etc.?
Yeah, good question. So all of our products, we can touch on warranty as well. All the products have a 2-year warranty from the time that you purchase it. And then we stand behind our products very well. Our RMA rates are, especially on our switches, are very, very low. So we're really happy with those. And then the warranty from the life cycle, well, I mean, we're honestly a relatively new company at this point, so we haven't EOL'd any products. But it's going to be definitely a number of years before we get rid of the AP6 Pro. We're continuing to do updates on things on those. So it's definitely multi-year support from us.
I mean, to back that up, I mean, we've only been distributing Alta now for 3-4 months, but we've not had a single product return in that time. So.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah.
Okay. Last shout on any questions for Phil whilst we've got him on the line. Have you got anything else to cover, Phil, or are we?
Nothing too big. I guess I would just say we really do want feedback from our customers. We implement features that our customers request somewhat regularly, actually. So if you do have either feature requests, don't hesitate to reach out. And then if you do have questions from me directly, any purchasing questions, pricing questions, things like that are definitely best to be directed at Chris or Ricky. But if you have other questions just about Alta Labs, we're here to have those conversations. So if you want to reach out to someone on the WifiGear team for either my email or my WhatsApp number, you can do so. We're very willing to have calls with guys, work through issues, or just if you have, like I said, feature requests, let me know. We really want to make sure that the products that we're building are products that our customers want to use. So if you have anything at all, reach out. Chris has even cautioned me against, texting directly, but I have some of their customers have my phone number. They text me. So we're very available, very reachable, and we do think that that's something that sets us apart, is how much we're willing to listen to our customer base.
Yeah, I'd really reiterate that the Alta Phil and the whole Alta team are really engaging, happy to have conversations with anybody, any time of the day, on any level. It's really nice and refreshing to work with in this space. There's not many vendors in this type of space that are that accessible. And then if you've got any questions on pricing, stock availability, NFR kits, demos, learning a bit more about it, feel free to reach out to Ricky, Fiona, myself, any of the WifiGear team. We're here to help, and look forward to hearing from you guys. Seriously have a consider about the NFR kits. The product, when you get product in hand, it's incredibly well built. It's weighty, it's nice. People buy the NFR kits and they do always go on and use the product because it is a really nice product to work with.
Yep. Yeah. We appreciate you guys being on the call today. We're really excited to be working with WifiGear as well. Really like Chris and Ricky and the team over there. So they'll definitely take good care of you, as you know, since you're already all customers.
Thanks, Phil. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Thank you ever so much for attending this afternoon. Reach out to us at WifiGear. Happy to help. Demo kit, NFR kit, pricing. We look forward to hearing from you. But for now, thanks very much. Cheers.